friends, my name is Rachel and I'll be your safari guide today on this adventure through the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Now there's a couple of important safety rules we have to go over before we fully embark. So for the safety of the animals and the comfort of those around you, please refrain from flash photography of any kind. This includes external video lighting, flashlights, laser pointers, magical Mickey ears, and interstellar lightsabers. We're going to be guests in these animals' homes and we do not want to frighten or hurt them, so please take this moment now, turn that flash off. But don't be afraid, you can take as many photos or videos as your heart desires. It's a photo safari after all. In fact, I suggest having the cameras and phones out and ready to be used because we can't always stop for every animal, and every animal doesn't always want to stop for us. Now for your safety, please stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck at all times, and make sure to supervise those children. In fact, if you have a child and the child's sitting on your lap, they're more than welcome to be there, but remember the same rules apply to them as they apply to everyone else, so no need to recreate the Lion King or play past the toddler here today. Just keep them seated. It's a bumpy ride, a bunch of potholes, a dozen thorny bushes. We don't want anyone getting hurt. Now speaking of bumps, if you have something you may or may not value, hold on to it tightly. Because if something falls out and we're on the reserve, I'm not allowed to stop and get it. If you let me know, I will call a warden. We'll try our best to get it back to you. Just fair warning, it's going to have tire tracks. Now we're getting that final all clear to head on into the reserve. So once again, friends, Twin Day. Let's go. And we are heading on into the Little Ituri Forest. An area with a lot of animals that are known to be particularly good at hiding. This is mostly thanks to their natural forms of camouflage and shy natures. So we got to keep our eyes open and stay vigilant. On occasion, we are incredibly fortunate around these parts of the forest in seeing a very solitary and critically endangered animal. It is the black rhinoceros. So if we did see one, it'd be a real miracle. Why? Because there are less than 5,000 black rhinos left in the world. Less than. This is all due to illegal hunting and poaching for their horns, a problem all rhino species face. Now some cultures believe a rhino's horn has special medicinal qualities. Yet it's only made out of keratin, the same thing as our fingernails and hair. Now besides just keeping our eyes open, we should keep our ears open as well throughout the safari. This is because you never know when there might be a rustling around in the grasses or bushes, or even a vocalization of animals trying to communicate with each other, inadvertently making somebody known.
You should be clear to head off from my path.
Now we're leaving the forest and heading on into an area known as Safi River. Now rivers are a great place to see animals. They love the water. They'll use it for eating, drinking, sleeping, hiding, staying cool. The list goes on and on and on. And well, I won't have time to go over it all because we're kind of already here. Keep an eye out on our right. Always a chance we might see something. If we do, great. If we don't worry about it. We tend to have better luck on our left-hand side in just a moment anyways. Ooh, it looks like there's a bloat of Nile hippos on the left. Now, Nile hippopotamuses are a nocturnal animal. They spend their days asleep, usually in the water, and then will go up on land under the cover of darkness at night, and that is to graze. They can hold their breath for 8 minutes underwater at a time, so every time they need to take a breath, their body naturally rises on up, and then they float back down, and they float all the way down to the bottom of the water where they walk or run instead of swim. This is how they've gotten their name. Hippopotamus is Greek for river horse. Now those big white birds with the big yellow beaks on the not so big island, those are pink-backed pelicans. They get their name because their backs do change from a white shade to a lovely dusty pink shade during their mating season. It's how they attract the most perfect mate. And they make some excellent avian parents, nesting in groups of 10 to 100 pairs. Now coming up, you're going to want to look down on your left, but make sure to stay seated because below us are Nile crocodiles. Nile crocodiles are the largest African crocodile. They'll grow up to 20 feet long. They bite down with 2,000 pounds of pressure per square inch, letting them hunt prey much bigger than themselves. And they'll hold their jaws open just part of the reserve. It is the largest. It is the savanna. Now the savanna is home to a wide and diverse range of animals. Those with hooves, paws, wings, and claws all call the savanna their home. But before you see any animal life, we're going to get a quick glimpse at some. Right hand side, it is a baobab tree. Now baobabs are known as the upside down tree because it looks like its roots are on top instead of its branches, but those are its branches, I can assure you. They just do not have leaves 9 months out of the year, leading to that root-like appearance. And they can grow to such massive and enormous sizes because of all the water they store in their trunks. They store gallons upon gallons upon gallons of water. So much that in dry seasons, animals like elephants poke holes in the baobab tree with their tusks to get access to that water, giving it the nickname, the Tree of Life. Now here we are, we're out on the savanna, and we're going to have some great luck. You might be able to see in the distance some giraffes. It's a group of giraffes, and a group of giraffes is known as a tower. But coming up closer to us, on our right, are two species. There's the springbok, the little guys, brown and white with a racer stripe. They are fully grown adults. They stand at 3 feet tall and weigh between 60 and 100 pounds, roughly the size of a Labrador Retriever. Springbok get their name from their jumping abilities. They can jump 6 feet straight up into the air and 13 feet forward. That jumping has a special name known as prunking. There's those guys with the really big horns. Those are Ankole cattle. Now the Ankole cattle's horns can go between 4 and 5 feet long and are incredibly lightweight thanks to a honeycomb structure on the inside filled with blood vessels and used for temperature regulation. Coming up on our left, on top of that cave, you will see some spotted hyenas. Now, hyenas are neither feline nor canine. They are their own family. Hyenidae. They're born with their teeth emerging and eyes wide open. A matriarchal society, this means the females are in charge. So the lowest ranking female will still outrank the highest ranking male. And they have 15 different vocalizations. These range from that signature giggle to a hunting whooping noise. Now, Ankole cattle are the only domesticated animals that hang out here on the reserve. They were originally domesticated by the Watusi people, so they have another name, Watusi cattle. Nowadays, they're mostly raised by people in East Africa who consider them a source of wealth. The more cattle you have, the wealthier you are. So to protect this wealth, farmers herd them into special fences made out of a thorny bush called a poma or manata. Now, these gray and black animals on either sides of us, they are wildebeest. Their name is Afrikaans for wild beasts. This is due to their tendency to stampede. They migrate vast distances, 500 to 1,000 miles at a time, all across the savanna. And they live in some of the largest and densest herds out of any mammal species. Typical wildebeest migrational herd can be 1.5 million large. Wildebeest isn't the animal's only moniker. They also go by gnu, spelled GNU, after the low grunting noises that they make. Now wildebeest, they have a really neat way of staying safe with how they sleep. They do not sleep facing each other. They sleep in columns, back to back, butt to butt. So they have an almost 360 view of the area they're in. They're not the only animals that stay safe with how they sleep. Many are known as shift sleepers, meaning the majority of the herd will be asleep while a few members stay awake, keeping an eye out for danger. And then you have animals like giraffes who sleep standing up so as to confuse predators into thinking they're still awake. In fact, giraffes barely sleep at all. They only need about 30 minutes of sleep a day. This is taken in 5-minute increments, so they're always awake, always alert, and always using energy. So to make up for all that energy lost, they eat a lot. A giraffe spends 20 hours out of its day munching on food, all digested by its 4-chamber stomach. And once again, there are some giraffes in the distance. We actually have the same amount of neck vertebrae they do. It's the same as every other mammal. It is 7. Ours are small, but a giraffe's are fairly large. 11 inches long to be exact. And this is because they can grow between 16 and 20 feet tall, with each with the neck being about 6 feet long in and of itself.
Oh.
Now, a giraffe's tongue is prehensile and proportional to its height. So an 18-foot giraffe would have an 18-inch tongue that could grab and manipulate objects, great for getting those just out of reach leaves and branches off of the trees. And a giraffe's tongue is a dark purple color to help protect it from getting sunburnt. Looks like we were stuck in a brief giraffic jam, but don't worry folks, we're getting back on the move.
They're just sitting there eating. Whatever.
On top of a giraffe's head, you might think are horns, but they're actually called ossicones. They are 100% bone and an extension of the skull. They're covered in skin and fur, giving a false horn-like appearance. And because ossicones are bone, they are not typically used for protection. Instead, a giraffe will use their very powerful legs. Their legs are so powerful that they can break the jaw of a lion with a single kick. And it's not just the giraffe's legs that are powerful, their hearts are as well. They have to beat to pump the blood up their neck into their brain. A giraffe's heart weighs 25 pounds and is 2 feet wide. You can actually tell what species these guys are by looking at their spots. Notice the jagged edges to their spots, placed messily and irregularly, means they're Maasai. Now most people are familiar with the kind on your animal spotting guide, the reticulated giraffe. They have a straight and neat spot pattern. Now those are 2 of 9 giraffe species. There are 4 major ones and 5 subspecies. Up ahead are a couple baobab trees. Now let me tell you the creation story for them from around these parts. So when the great creator was done making the world, they opened up their bag of things and they were like, whoa, I found a tree. I thought I used all the trees. What am I to do? I don't know. Let me think about it. So that's what they did. They thought about it. Day in and day out, thinking about it until they couldn't think about it anymore. Finally, they gave up. They threw the tree over their shoulder. It landed upside down here in the savannah, and thus the baobab tree was created. And the hyenas saw this whole thing happening. They thought it was so funny. They're still laughing about it to this day. There on our right, you'll see some Patterson elands. Looks like a mom and her young. Now, Patterson elands are one of the largest antelope species in the world. A fully grown adult male can be 6 feet tall at the shoulder and weigh 2,000 pounds. Even with all that size, they can still jump 8 feet straight up into the air from a standing position, no less. Now, these baobab trees are going to pass in between. They do tend to mean elephant country. That's because there's a tendency to see elephants pretty big, so not too hard to miss, but a migratory species. They follow a matriarch, a big lady in charge, the oldest and the wisest of the elephants. And she takes her family to where she remembers it is the safest and there's the most food and water available to her family herd. Matriarch's kind of the whole reason that saying an elephant never forgets exists. Now, family herds consist of adult females and their young. Young elephants during the day, they can hang out with their whole family, whether it be mom, aunt, grandma, cousin, brother, sister. But at night, they always have to go back to their mother like a curfew. Elephants mostly travel during dawn and dusk.
Look at that one
and
there.
where they're going to spend their day and where they're going to spend their night. They don't necessarily sleep at night. They can sleep any time of the day, only for a few hours, which is needed. Rarely is it actually taken lying down. Most of the time, elephants sleep leaning up against a rock, a log, or even each other. Coming up on our left, you'll see a flamboyance of greater flamingos. Now, greater flamingos are the largest flamingo species. They stand at 5 feet tall and weigh a whopping 9 pounds. They're also the lightest pink. They get their pink coloring from their diet of shrimp and krill, which contains beta-carotene. Carotene is what turns them pink. Now, if you see a gray flamingo, they're young, no more than 6 months old. When a flamingo is born, they're gray and fluffy, and it can take a full year to almost 2 years for them to get their distinct